You're listening to the Woodhouse Blend Podcast.
Let's get it. Cue my music.
Good morning, boys and girls.
Morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is for you. And welcome. Thank you for tuning in today. Today, I'm gonna let you know. I'm excited. I'm excited because we've been posting our podcast episodes, and it's been going great. And we appreciate the support. We appreciate the love. And we also, above all else, appreciate the feedback. With the feedback, there's positive as well as there's negative feedback.
Yep.
And as adults, right, as people who are trying to consistently learn about themselves and their craft, you have to take the good with the bad. You have to take it with a grain of salt, right? A little life's lesson for people who don't truly understand that. So you can't really, you can get upset, but everyone has a valid opinion whenever, they tell you something. So what I'm speaking about is the previous episode that we recorded called Marriage or No. Right? So Marriage or No right now is a Marriage or No 1.5, right? It's not a 2. It's not going to be a 2. I just want to address some things because, like I said, I am human. I make mistakes. In Marriage or No, we had a very interesting conversation, dialogue, if you will, regarding our views on marriage.
Correct.
Right? Now, the thing that I messed up on, because I can admit that I messed up on a few things because I let you share your point.
Right.
And your point was great, right? Your point was great. How you feel about your point is how you feel about your point. But I also have my take on it. What I did not do is I did not share my experiences that go along to support my point, right?
Right.
And I did not. So for those who are still tuned in, for one, thank you. But I'm gonna go ahead and let this be known, all right? For those who are listening and need to have closure with what I was trying to say, pretty much Brandon's point is that Brandon sees marriage as a next level type deal, right? Am I wrong?
Right. So I think the argument or the discussion, I should say, was Lindsay views it as more of a legal characteristic of a relationship, and I view it as more so of a public declaration that is taken to the next level. Like, obviously, boyfriend, girlfriend, Facebook official, that sort of thing. But in a way, there is also a legal aspect that jumps into it as well. When you're dating and somebody cheats on another person, they can't be charged with adultery because you're not in that legal status of marriage. So I can very much see where that piece of paper would affect a lot of people's lives. On the other side of that, I think it's just as important to let everybody know, because when you're going into a marriage, you're inviting people that are important to you in most occasions. Your friends, your family, people that are directly affecting each other's lives on both sides of that aisle. So I think that public declaration is like a official way to say to everybody, hey, this is the person that I am committing my life to, even if there's a legal take on it.
And what I was trying to convey was that, for those who don't know, okay, first of all, I have been in love before, right? I have been there, right? I currently have a girlfriend, right? That I love very much. Shut up. I love very much.
Aww.
Right? Yeah. We're not talking about her right now.
Okay.
It kind of deals with her, but I see it as a legal snap. I see it as me saying, you know what? I love you, yo. Like, I love you. We're in this relationship, because I see calling someone your girlfriend is the first step before marriage, before saying, you know what, when I say, hey, this is my girlfriend, I'm saying that, hey, this potentially can be my wife. Like, this is who I view in a wife status, right? Also, I'm also saying that if I am engaged to this person, I am not. It's not just because I say that I'm not marrying this person right now. It does not mean that the love that I have for them is any less. I'm just saying that from how I look at it is that I love this person enough that I allow them to make decisions about my life from a legal standing, and that is a very big deal to me. Now, I've also I've loved plenty of times. Like, I've been engaged before. I have an ex that has contributed a very significant amount of time and effort to my life. I love her for that. But it just didn't work out, right? She was where she was. I went off overseas to London. It just didn't work out, and these things happen. And it's part of life. It is what it is. But all of my experience have taught me something and have got me to this point. And also the whole legal thing, that's just something that I grew up with. I don't really know. I've never really been taught that, this is all about, marriage is all about love. No, I grew up in a single parent household with just my father. My father was always working. My mother would talk to me when she could. That's just how it is. I just view things differently. It's not saying that I've never been in love before. I've loved plenty of women. I actually love hard. I've given my all, and it just didn't work out. But I just see it from a legal standpoint, Mm-hmm. But that's me. So, if anyone has any questions, feel free to email us or leave a comment.
Or DM,
Or DM us.
Hey, if you got a number, text it. Because if you got a problem, we'll solve it. Hit up. All right, I'm done.
I'm not texting you, all right?
Oh.
Branden can text you. If you're talking to Branden, if you texting, you talking to Branden. But if you emailing, you might be talking to me, all right? You might.
Nah, if some of these situations, if it's like, oh, hey, Lindsay, they're definitely talking to you. They're not talking to me. I'm going to pass it over to him. Like, oh, my gosh, you remember when we were in high school together? You were doing so good. How are you doing? I'm going to be like, Lindsay, no, man. Hey, this is yours. I can make some stuff up, but I don't feel comfortable. So we're going to have to pass the torch here.
But what I want to roll into is because I don't really I'm not really a big fan of talking about my personal life. I talk about it when it's the time and place for it, but it is what it is. But what I want to roll into, what I want to caveat off, well, not caveat, but what I want to segue into is forgiveness. All right? I want to talk about forgiveness.
The power of forgiveness.
The power of forgiveness. And a lot of people they say they forgive people, but they don't really know what forgiveness is. Now, forgiveness, actually, go ahead and talk to the people about forgiveness, sir. What's your take on it?
Well, my take is kind of a long take.
Say it.
Well, there's different sectors of it, if you want to call it that, different sections. So I think in our current society, asking for or giving a level of forgiveness is very, what word do I want to use? It is very uncomfortable for a lot of people. Because it's something that has kind of been slowly phased out of our culture. It's too formal, right? Because let's say somebody does something stupid to you at school, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's not this level of, hey, man, I forgive you. Nobody says that. I mean, when was the last time you said that you forgave somebody, especially when they didn't ask for it? Like walk up to somebody and be like, hey, you really hurt my feelings the other week. You said this stuff about me, and I just want to let you know, hey, there's nothing wrong with it. I forgive you, even if you're not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted to let you know that's where I'm at. Nobody wants to do that because that's very humbling.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays, especially with the way that I grew up, I wasn't really taught about forgiveness. Especially being from where I'm from, it's always an eye for an eye.
See, and that is a terrible thing that has been happening.
But you don't, as a child, right? You don't realize that if it's not taught to you. Forgiveness is something that's not real. It has to be taught to you. in my opinion. Like, I feel like it needs to be taught to you, because when I was a kid, like I told you the story about the frozen cup. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, right, like you knocked my frozen cup down. I'm not going to walk away and, you know what I'm saying? Especially when I got Lil Bookie over here hyping me up, saying that, oh, I'm going to be regarded in the hood as, you know what I'm saying, soft. I got to do something. I got to hit you in the eye. Right? And then if I hit you in the eye, maybe, I don't know, maybe you got a brother. Maybe he wants revenge. Or maybe you got a sister. Maybe she feeling froggy. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, it's just it's a never-ending cycle, right?
Right. But the cycle ends at that stage of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very uncomfortable for people to do that nowadays because it, like you said, makes you look soft, or it'll ruin your street cred, or what if they don't accept it? The thing is, it's not about them accepting it. It's about clearing your conscience. It's about going into the situation and saying, you know what, I just want to let you know, even if you're not done with this, I want to diffuse the situation, and I just want to say, listen, I forgive you for whatever. But like I was saying, it's just not something that is preached or taught a lot to a lot of younger kids nowadays. And I was trying to think back to when I could last remember when I forgave somebody physically out loud. A lot of times it's like, hey, man, no, you're good.
You've never forgiven anyone?
No, of course I have.
Did you forgive your ex?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. Okay,
sure?
So more recently then.
Yeah, man. I've forgiven people, and I think it's made me the person that I am.
But have you physically used that vocabulary? Did you say, I forgive you for this or that?
You mean like actually tell the person?
Yeah.
I've told a few, the ones that I could tell it to. Right. I've had an ex, man, like literally was about to stab me. It was something stupid. It was over a phone, bro. Like it was.
It's over a frozen.
It was no. It was.
She was like,
it was over a phone, man. Like literally, we got into an argument about something. I can't even remember. It was something so small, and we probably could have fixed it. But at the time, you know, I was little. How old was I? I think I was.
Once I was 7 years old.
I was 19.
All right, that's not what I guessed.
No. I lied. I was 21. I was 21, and we were arguing as couples do, but it got intense because we were kids and we didn't know any better. And I had a sidekick. Right? You remember sidekick, right? So
no,
I had a sidekick LX. You know what I'm saying? The little thing where
the phone.
Yeah, the phone.
I thought you were talking about like a Robin.
Like if you wanted to look like you was pimp, you had to have a sidekick. But anyway, I digress. So I was with her. We was arguing. I was like, you know what? I'm tired of this. You know, because I didn't really have a good stand. Like I didn't know how to really convey my feelings out. I didn't really know how to communicate effectively.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm leaving. Right. Shut the door. Right. And then I was like, I walk. I'm like, oh, you know what I'm saying? You know when you hold your head and you're like, wow, I forgot something. So I go back and I knock on the door. I'm like, hey. I'm like, I forgot my phone. And she don't say nothing. I'm like, can I please get my phone? And then she turns the TV up, right? Acting like she don't hear me. I was like, oh, you want to get real, right? So I like unlocked the door. You know what I'm saying? Because it was the door out in the a hood neighborhood, so they're like very easy to open. So you just you turn it, right, and you just move it, and it's very easy to break. So I was like, hey, can I get my phone, please? And she's like, what phone? Oh. I'm like, oh, so this is what we doing. We doing this now. This is what we doing. And she's like, I said, what phone? I'm like, oh, so we doing this. So you know what I'm saying? So she gives my phone. Well, she doesn't have my phone. I'm trying to find my phone. She's like, get out of my room, right? And I'm like, nah, I ain't getting out. So she's trying to fight me. And I don't hit her, right? I don't hit her. I'm just like, politely shoving her. Like, stop it. I'm just like, stop. Cut it out. Like, no one's trying to fight you. Like, no, I just want my phone. So we get into it. She starts throwing everything. Long story short, the whole house is messed up. She tells me to clean it up. She says, clean it up or else I'm going to call your command, and I'm going to tell them that you messed up my house, and I'm going to tell them that you're a sergeant. I'm going to tell them that you know all these martial arts from the Marine Corps, and I'm going to tell them that you've been in Afghanistan and you crazy. And I was like, you know what? At first I clapped for it. I was like, that is a really good alibi, y'all. I was like, that's crazy. You thought of that like so fast to get me in trouble. So
She thought about it before.
Probably.
Yeah.
That means she's been waiting. That means she planned it. That's even more amazing. So I cleaned the whole house. I cleaned the whole house. Still didn't get my phone. Later got my phone. We broke up. I left. And it took me a long time to get over that. Like, long time. Eventually I forgave her. And I really forgave her. Time has passed. I've spoken to her again. We talked about it. She says that some of my story is a little messed up. And I'm saying some of her story is messed up, but we came to a common ground and we forgave each other. And it is what it is.
It's beautiful.
Thanks. At the end of the day, you gotta forgive. You gotta forgive. There's still some things some people, core people that I need to forgive that I haven't fully forgiven yet. But I'm on the road.
I think this is a good time to segue into the second part of my forgiveness talk. So there's like personal forgiveness, which it just takes weight off of you, right? It's freeing for you. It kind of helps not deliver you from, but helps you deal and cope with whatever loss or whatever things that have been really plaguing you. A lot of that stuff is in the mind, and it affects you long term if you don't take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
But then we look at a larger portion of the population, right? We look at people who are teaching to not forgive because we don't forget, right? It's this thing of no, we'll never forget. You see it play out a lot in the Middle East and even in the United States right now.
Right.
In the Middle East, you've got probably the biggest level of unforgiveness is Pakistan and Israel, right? If you want to go back to Bible times, as the story goes, if that's something you believe in, it's that was Israel's promised land. They were in the desert for 40 years because they didn't go in and take the land because there were giants in the land. It's in the book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to dive into that story today, but basically the 40 years came up. The other generation had died off, and they were like, "You go and you take the land. It's yours. I'm with you. Go take it. You will have victory where you go." But the command was to kill every single man, woman, and child in the land. Basically, they had to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or else they were going to reap what they sowed. So basically, obviously, they didn't do that to the maximum of what they were told.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept slaves. They took them as concubines and stuff like that.
Oh.
Anyways, so that led to Israel's downfall, right?
Okay.
The 12 tribes' downfall. And then Palestine took it back. We fast forward, way forward into it's changed hands a lot and what the kingdoms are called and all that stuff. But we go then to post-World War II, post-Holocaust. And they are now mass going back to Israel, the Gaza Strip, that area. And the United States is saying, hey, we won. You guys have basically been put through the worst hell imaginable, concentration camps. Millions of your people have died.
Right.
This land is yours. We believe this land is yours, and it's gonna, we're gonna support your statehood.
Right.
Right. So millions of Israelites, Jews, go back to Israel to re-establish themselves. Well, the Palestinians are already there, right? So in the process of this whole situation going on, a lot of pushback, a lot of blood on both sides is being spilled because Israel is fiercely defending their land. They have one of the most impressive militaries in modern times because everybody's required to serve a mandatory, I think it's like 6 years in the Israel Defense Force or whatever it is. And they're on top of their stuff over there, right? Well, Palestine is always pushing back to some level through Hamas, through different groups to retake what they believe is their land. So you have this level of cultural divide that is so deep that it's basically we will never forget and we will never forgive. There you have it might seem like a large generalization because there are definitely people pushing for peace in that region. But it is taught to not support those people, right? So you have this huge cultural divide where nobody's forgiving because nobody wants to forgive. And you could say to a level it's understandable, right? They lost family. They lost their sons, daughters, grandfathers, brothers, sisters, you name it, they lost it, right? In going through loss in my life, that would be very hard if somebody took that from me. So we transfer that now over to the United States where, a lot of the argument is there's systemic racism. There is a lot of lingering racism in our world. Partially, I would agree with that. But I also don't really buy that hype all the way.
Right.
I think when you actually were to sit down and talk to people and we got off the internet and we actually engaged with other human beings, I think there would definitely be a larger level of understanding.
Yeah, because if that's all you know, that's all you know.
Right.
Like, for example, with the ex that I had, we were from the same area, right?
Right.
And we're both, I'm 28. I think she should be like 26, 27. At that time, we all we knew was Norfolk, like Norfolk, Virginia. That's all we knew. So until I actually went out and met up with all the cultures and read other books, and she did whatever it is that she did and experienced. Like, once you experience life, like, you realize, like, it's really not worth it. Like, you have to forgive. Like, not only forgive other people, but you got to forgive yourself for whatever it is that you crossed, because at the end of the day, we're all human. Right? We're all human. We're all flawed people. We all make mistakes. Right?
And I really think that in this level of a lot of political divide, right? I don't see the point of it. For us,
you mean like Republicans and Democrats and all that?
Not even just that. You just look at this huge. It's a large level of overgeneralization. It's a large level of if I'm white and you're black, for some reason we can't relate. That's what the rhetoric is being preached, right? It's that.
I mean, in some cases we can't. There are some ways that we can't. Like, you can't relate to how I feel about the neighborhood that I come from because you don't know what that's like. But you can understand.
But I've lived in really crappy, terrible neighborhoods too. I mean, I did not grow up rich by any means. My family was on welfare. I was in a single family household for quite a long time, and we had very little food. It's not that the struggle wasn't there.
But I'm gonna be honest with you though, and you can take it how you want. At the end of the day, you're still white.
Right, but what does that mean?
What that means is that you get looked at differently from how I'm looked at. As far as the police, like I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm being honest with you. Like ever since I got back from being in the military, like I feel it. Like I do feel it.
But I want to ask the question why?
Why what?
Why is this that we are, okay, let's say police, right?
Okay.
Why do you feel uncomfortable around police?
Because of the things that I see in the news, the things that I see in the media, the things that I see on Facebook, the things that I've seen in my own neighborhood growing up.
Right. Okay.
Like you can get arrested just for talking bad, just for saying something in the wrong tone. Because there's this profile that's been given to us over time. And that comes, that honestly I think it stems from like the forgiveness. Like there's mistakes on both sides.
Right.
Like at the end of the day, like the way some of my family speaks sometimes, they're just like, oh well, like because I was dating a white girl at the time,
right?
And they're like, oh well, you out there with that white girl, right?
Right.
Now, if you go back and you listen to how white people were talking like before, in like the '60s and stuff, it's like, oh, you out there with that black boy, it would come off as like super hateful,
right?
So that's all I'm saying. Like I think forgiveness, not only is forgiveness for you, and forgiveness is like not only is forgiveness for you, but forgiveness is for future generations, depending on the context of what you're talking about, like racism, right? And this actually brings me into like the book. So I've been reading this book, The Book of Forgiving, right? I was referred to it by my therapist. Great book, actually. I'm not really reading it. I'm listening to an audiobook, so I'm cheating. But then, that's okay. That's okay. I'm still taking in the information. And it's by Desmond Tutu. You familiar with?
No.
Desmond Tutu is a activist and what is the word that I learned from the last podcast? Theologian?
Theologian?
Theologian.
That would be like a Bible scholar.
Yeah, that's what he is.
Okay.
So he wrote this book with his daughter, Mpo Tutu, right? And it's a book pretty much for explaining what forgiveness is and explaining how to get through it. And pretty much he says that there's no such thing as an evil person, right? Everyone has a reason for doing the things that they do. Everyone comes in this world whole, but that wholeness can easily be shattered. What are you about to say? It sounds like you have something to say. This is a man that was in the era of the apartheid.
Right.
Right.
I just don't think that humans are inherently good.
Explain.
Well, we've talked about this before. I believe that since...
You mean like offline?
Yeah.
Oh, well, tell me.
I just believe that since the... Okay. Disclaimer. This is my Christian beliefs. Just, if you don't believe them, that's fine. I don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Since the fall, right? Since the fruit of knowledge of good and evil, whatever it is you want to say, right? Sin entered the world. From day one, A1 of being a human being, we are not inherently good. We are not inherently perfect.
Okay.
Right? So we're made in the image of God, but not perfect by any means.
Okay.
Right? So to say that we are born whole and that this stuff is taught, I don't really think it's taught. I think it's just in us, personally. And there might be psychologists out there be like, actually, I've done studies of young youths, and you're not right. But
I mean, it is what it is. But like, based on the book, and all I can do is reference the book.
Right.
I think there is some truth to what he's saying. For example, if a man steals a purse from a woman, right? If you look at it from one side, you can see that he is wrong and she is right because she's being stolen from. But if you look at it from his perspective, what is he really stealing that for? Why is why? For example, like a neighborhood, like a bad neighborhood, right? Where there's a lot of crime.
Right.
Why is there a lot of crime in that neighborhood? You think people just want to be like that? Or do you think they're just trying to figure out a way to get out? But their choice their choice of getting out isn't necessarily the best choice from one perspective.
I would typically say getting out through breaking the law is probably not the way out.
But there are some people that feel like there is no other way. Like, for example, like if you're hungry, like if you see a homeless man and he's hungry, right? And he goes steals a piece of bread, is that not breaking the law?
Right. Because the operative word is steal. Yeah.
Yeah. But is he wrong necessarily if he needs to feed his child?
My question would be what happened to this situation where he got homeless?
Okay.
Because I've got weird feelings about homelessness, right? One, I don't like it. Obviously, I don't want people to be living on the streets, putting themselves through potential harm and having to beg for things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a very poor quality of life. But we as human beings are very often very empathetic towards other human beings,
Okay.
right? So I would say a large majority of situations, most people would try to band together to help somebody who was on the verge of homelessness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even want to say argument, but my question is, how did that person get to a state of homelessness, right? What things were they trying to do to get out of it? Because I do truly believe that there are many people who are not actively trying to remain homeless, but then there are people trying to take advantage of a human level of empathy and sympathy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are people in like New York City who literally make. I saw an interview with a homeless guy. He cleared like 50 grand just begging off the streets in a year, and I was like, what? And I understand New York City is a very different place where rent is very high and you know the dynamic is different there. I get it, but at the same time, 50 grand just begging on the streets, that's a crazy amount of money.
I mean, there are some people that misuse, you know, they use it in the inappropriate ways and they're wrong, you know, but I believe that karma will, you know, will give them theirs soon enough. But do you feel like there are acts that are unforgivable? A lot of times, a lot of people go right to
like murder or something.
Yeah, like murder or the Holocaust or things like that. Do you feel like there are acts that are unforgivable? Because me personally, like just reading the book, just reading the book,
right?
I feel like now, because at first I used to think that no, there are some things that are unforgivable, but I think no one, just like he says, no one is born a monster. There are people who perform monstrous acts, but no one is born a monster. And to call someone a monster would actually mean to relinquish the responsibility from them by just simply saying, you're just a monster.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that there are definitely things that would seem unforgivable. And obviously I have not encountered these things. So that's obviously not a good representation of, I've never had somebody murdered. I've never been tortured, stuff like that. Stuff that we would consider unforgivable or would be in the realm of unforgivable. I think that as a Christian, that there is a level of forgiveness that should be had for any and all acts, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? It's not on me to judge those actions, right?
Right.
That's a higher power will handle that.
Okay.
Not to say that those things are okay by any means necessary. I don't think they're okay. But if it were to affect me directly, I think there would definitely be, stages of anger, grief, depression, for whatever reason that stuff happens, trauma, right? But I think the way to best get past those things is a level of forgiveness.
Is to just go through it.
Right. Well, and you see a lot of people on like murder trials, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
I won't say that all of them do, but there have been a lot of, documentaries and books and stuff like that where people ultimately forgave the killer of their daughter or their son or, their parents' family. And there are people who've never forgiven them, and it kind of plagues them for a very long time because there's just nothing that you can do to help them get past it.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like forgiveness isn't really the word that should be used. The word that really should be used is acceptance, right? You gotta accept it. Now, under no means I'm telling you to forget, because that's what a lot of people try to do. They try to forget, and that's impossible. All right, once you're scarred, you are scarred, right? But you have to take that scar and make it into what we call a beauty mark, if you will, right? Just metaphorically speaking. You have to like I've been screwed over a lot of times, right? I feel like I've been screwed over, and it is what it is. Like I've gone into business with people, and haven't received any. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna get into that. That's a story for another day.
Another day.
But I feel like I've been screwed over tons of times. But you know what? Until you actually it won't bother you until after you actually accept it. Once you accept what happened and you take responsibility and you just, for lack of better words, get on with your life, it doesn't have a hold on you anymore. It doesn't, you feel like you can do anything. You know what I'm saying? Because I could have just been mad. I could have just been give me my money, do this, do that. Why is this person doing that? Why is this person doing this? You know? And I would have never been here. I would have never had this job. I probably would have never been doing this podcast. I would probably felt like I couldn't trust anyone, you know?
Yeah.
And trusting people is essential.
Yeah.
It's essential to growing up. It's essential to growing, period. It's essential to learning, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people just don't understand that. So if anyone has any issues, if you feel like you haven't forgiven someone, try it. You know what I'm saying? Try it.
Yeah.
Try it. Just if you got to talk to somebody about it, if you got to keep retelling the story to someone, tell it. You know? You can hit us up. Hit Branden up.
Oh, great.
I'm lying.
Yeah,
you can hit both of us up.
Yeah, no, hit me up.
You can hit both of us up. And but what you got to say?
So to jump back onto the let's say the larger level of forgiveness, right? Between countries, between peoples, between you want to call them skin tones, races, whatever. So what do you see as a potential solution or a potential what can be done, right? So
as far as what?
Well, we talk about how racism is a lot of a level of unforgiveness, right? I mean, it's two sides teaching and preaching that they have been put down from day one, and stuff has happened between two different sets of people, 3, 4, however many, and to not trust or this stuff is being taught, right?
Racism is oh my Jesus. There is a lady, it's a white lady. I can't remember. I think her name's Elizabeth or something like that. She's really old, and she teaches people about systemic racism and all this other stuff. She's really good at what she does. Really good. She does all these little exercises every year, and it's pretty successful. But the way to teach, the way to get the way I see of, because I mean, at the end of the day, you can never really truly get rid of hate, because there's always someone that's going to hate, because we're all flawed people, right? But to really reduce racism, it has to be taught that everyone is human. Everyone is a people. For example, when I was a kid, my dad was very. It wasn't that he was racist. You know what? I keep using the wrong word. It wasn't that my dad was prejudiced, right? My dad my dad just didn't trust white people because my dad grew up in an era where he was getting rocks thrown at him by white people.
Right.
And called the N-word. And, you know what I'm saying? My dad grew up in a country area. The Ku Klux Klan was out there.
Right.
He literally would show me like areas like, hey, the Ku Klux Klan they used to be in this area. Some of them still hang out here. Mm-hmm. That man might be a Klan member. But he never taught me to hate. Like he never said that, yo, white people are bad. By the time I was older and I actually heard things like that, I was already friends with white kids.
Right.
I was already friends with other cultures. And like people are just like, well, why are you doing that podcast with that white boy? I'm like, well, you know, white boy's pretty smart. He might be irrational a couple times. And it is what it is.
Wait a second.
A little bit of shade. But he's cool and he's smart and he's highly intelligent and he's someone that I aspire to hang out with. You know, well, I'm already hanging out with you, but you're someone that I would like. You're good company to keep around. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't feel like I would be able to do this podcast with anyone else. Like it's not about race and it's not about color. It's about personality. Right. It's about, you know what I'm saying, like way of life.
And I think of any good conversation, you have to have like a level of differing viewpoints. Like if you have, okay, let's talk about news channels. If you talk about Fox News, CNN, The View, name another one, whatever you want. But
Breakfast Club.
Okay, yeah. So typically there's going to be a majority viewpoint on that channel, right? On that show. There's going to be a viewpoint left or right. There's hardly anything down the middle, mostly because somebody pays their bills, right? So they are paid to have a certain viewpoint. And to sacrifice on that viewpoint and to concede on that viewpoint is almost unacceptable.
Okay.
Right? And that's part of the issues that we're having today is people are unwilling to cross across that line to give and take, to compromise. And a lot of that comes down to a level of pride, right? No, my way's the right way. And I don't think that's how we should be thinking. I think that there are valid points on either side. To start covering that topic would take a long time. But you have to be open to dialogue. You can't just, shut down.
So what I'm hearing is that one side has to give in. One side.
No, both sides.
Both, yeah, true. Eventually, both sides have to give in. But it's like this, right? If let's say we're arguing, right? We're arguing. We're in a very heated argument.
All right.
One of us eventually has to cool down, right?
Or both.
One of us has to cool down in order to start. Like, what's that saying? Like, you can't solve anything with hate, like hate against hate. You can only destroy hate with love, right? So if you're showing me love,
right,
there's no way I'm gonna keep like hating you. It's impossible.
You say that, but I mean, it happens.
No, it takes time. For example, like in the book, he was there during the, apartheid in South Africa, right?
Right.
If that hate would have continued, because you know what I'm saying, literally, you would go to the supermarket. It's like, yo, you killed my cousin, yo.
Right.
You killed him.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I either saw it or I heard about it or whatever. I know your people killed my cousin. But you know what? It's not worth it because the future, if I don't stop the hate and you don't stop the hate, then it's going to continue within the future generations. And the future generations are eventually going to destroy this whole country.
Yep. Do you think that's happening to a level in the United States?
Yes, I think it is. I think it's happening in like rough urban neighborhoods too.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to say, nah, that's unforgivable. He killed so-and-so. Instead of saying, you know what? I need to break the cycle. I need to break the chain. Yeah. No one wants to be that bigger person.
No.
I mean, there probably are people who want to be that bigger person.
Yeah.
But it's just like they don't want to. Like they just really don't want to.
Well, and it's a lot of a level of peer pressure as well. It's a group mentality. It's us against them.
Exactly.
Which is such a dangerous thing to have because then people are too afraid to walk across the aisle. Because what if they get rejected by the other group? they don't have a group to go back to. So then they become an outsider of both groups, and in some scenarios, they've put their lives at risk. It's an uncomfortable and potentially dangerous situation to just say, hey, I think they have some valid viewpoints.
Right.
It comes down to just being adults about things and having to sit down, diffuse the situation, and just talk. Because we come to this level of the loudest person in the room is right, and that's not the case all the time. There should be a level of discussion. Like, if you've got valid viewpoints, make them. And a lot of times what happens is people are very passionate about what's happening in their community, in their life, and they've got direct correlations to those things that are affecting them emotionally. And when your emotions start to take control of your conversation is when you start to lose your valid points.
Mm-hmm.
In a psychology manner of it, right? I used to do this to my sisters a lot. I knew I was winning when I could make them mad, when I could make them cry.
Mm-hmm.
So,
because then their emotions get into it instead of logic.
It's a level of control.
Yep.
Right. So it's very manipulative. I don't do it anymore, but it used to be I would poke and prod at anywhere I could until it overloaded their system and they just blew up, and that's when I knew I won.
You, sir, are an asshole.
Well, I was a kid. But
yeah,
but it was a level of control, and I liked that level of control. I could control a person. You see that a lot with bullies.
Or a narcissist.
Yeah. No, I don't think. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it is a level of control is what they're seeking.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in an actual dialogue with somebody, you can't lose that level of control. Your emotions need to remain in check to stay logical and to put out good viewpoints and to keep the conversation flowing. If you just blow up and say, no, you don't understand what's going on, you're not really helping the situation. You know what I mean?
Right. Because you don't want to see from the other perspective.
Right. Because you shut down.
Yeah, because you shut down.
Yeah.
And that's why that's why I say to know about other cultures.
Yeah.
To know, like when you actually like involve yourself in other cultures and other people's way of life.
Yeah.
Like you learn to humble yourself to see another perspective.
Yeah.
Like I don't necessarily agree with all of your perspectives.
Right.
A lot of things I call irrational, and it is what it is. But I will never put you down because of how you think, right? Mm. Because how you think is based on your experiences, however way you grew up, the way your parents are,
right?
The job, everything, the whole nature and nurture issue thing, whatever you want to call it.
So how do we? What's your idea of a fix to? Okay, let's just say police, not brutality, but the encounters that we're seeing a lot of with police and the general public. Because we both come from military backgrounds, so we both understand a level of stress that they're working under.
I'm gonna be real honest with you. Now it's not gonna be fixed now. It's not, and I say that because there are gonna be. I think that that is the biggest problem. Like people want it to happen now.
Right.
They want it to happen now instead of actually putting in the work to have it fixed in the future. It's just you're just preparing. It's like investing your money, right?
Yeah.
You don't invest your money because you want to be rich right now. You invest your money because you want to be rich in the future. You're prepping yourself for the future. The things that you do now affect how good things are in the future. Right? And that boils down to everything. So if you want the future to be I'm not going to say completely non-prejudice, but I want to say if you want a big difference from how things are right now, then you have to teach your children to look at people all the same. And it starts with the children. The kids have to look at, you know what I'm saying? They have to look at people as if they're just regular people. They have to look at other kids as if they're other kids. You can't say, oh, you know what? You can never be with that white boy. You can never be with that black boy. Why are you hanging out with that Hispanic boy?
I think that
Why you messing around with that ginger?
I think that's happening less and less.
It is.
From my perspective, anyways, I don't run into it a lot, as much as I'm sure other people did in the past.
Yeah. And I love ginger. Shout out to Sherry.
Shut up.
Shout out to Sherry.
I think, and this is just me spitballing, really. A good start would be at the community level. I think communities, especially smaller communities, this is a little bit harder on the bigger scale, right? When, especially like police departments are taking care of multiple districts, you have hundreds, thousands of people that they're, trying to police or whatever. But I think communities coming together and actually like having an open discussion, forums type deal, where they can actually air out these things without like huge repercussions. I think that would be like a great way to start, because a lot of this stuff is a level of, like you say, unforgiveness and being taught to not trust people. And don't get me wrong, there are definitely bad apples in the police force, and there are plenty of bad apples in the civilian population. But
also, can you tell your boy next door to stop giving me the people's eyebrow, bruh?
He gives me that on the regular day too.
That's because you hang out with me.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. We should go say hi to him.
I'm scared.
Nah, it'd be fine.
Okay.
I have a neighbor who's he's a little racist. He used the N-word around me. I don't even have that card. I don't know where he got it from.
I haven't personally heard it from him, but that's all I need to know when he told me. So
yeah.
That's all I need to know to stay away, sir.
But is that the answer? I think the answer would be to go and just engage. You know what I mean?
It would be, and give me some time. I know what you're thinking. You're saying, "Oh, I'm being a hypocrite," and it sounds like that a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest. You know what? The next time I see him, give me that eye. I'm gonna roll up there, not by myself.
Yeah.
Okay. Not by myself. For the love of God, I will not roll up there by myself. So, that's me.
Good. Oh, okay. That was a little... All right. Good. Good.
Also,
you know what I've got?
No,
sorry. Go ahead.
Also, black people need to stop being so racist to other black people. And I say that because... Here's my example. All right. So, let's say
I'm ready.
You're walking down the street.
Yeah.
Right? And you see on one side of the street, you see white people.
Yeah.
On the street that you're walking on, that's black people.
Okay.
Right? Now, these black people are dressed in a let's say urban couture.
Couture, okay.
But you see the white people over there.
What are they dressed like?
They're dressed in business casual.
See, why did you do that in your mind already?
No. I'm not thinking like that. I'm just saying.
Okay,
actually, you know what? Let's not say business casual. Let's say urban couture as well.
Okay.
Right. There's only 2 black people.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sorry. There's only 3 black people. There's 5 white guys.
Okay.
Do you stay on the same street? Because these guys, they're just having a conversation. They're just huddled, right? They look at you and they look back at each other. Now, these people could be talking about anything. They could be talking about fucking quantum physics, for all I know.
Right. Like, yeah, man, the way that electrons play. Hey, what are these people doing? All right, yeah.
But would you cross the street?
Do I need to cross the street? Is there something I need on the other side of the street?
No. You just gotta. Do you cross the street and walk in between the white people, or do you stay on the street that has the black people? And I'm not saying I'm not asking this question to make you seem like you're racist.
I'm on the street with the black people.
Yeah,
you're on the other side of the street are the white people.
Yeah, on the sidewalk side.
And I'm walking up the street.
Yeah, you're walking up the sidewalk
on the quote unquote black side.
Yep.
This is a messed up situation going on.
The fact that you haven't answered yet?
No. I just continue walking up the street.
You would just okay.
Right. I mean, unless
would you think about would you pause and think about going across the street?
I'd probably just keep walking.
Really?
But here's the thing: I hate cities. I wouldn't want to be there in the first place. Like, I really do. It makes me feel crowded. I really don't like them. They make me feel uncomfortable. But, like, okay, if the black guys are moving stuff, right, and they're like, and they're doing something on the street that's taking up the street, I'm going to cross the street because why am I going to get in the way of what they're doing? You know what I mean?
You would cross the street.
If they're doing something and taking up the street, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you. With that logic, I would have thought about crossing the street. Or but that's because of how I've grown up though. That's from my experiences. I've experienced where if you got a group of black dudes who is dressed a certain way in that area where you're from, and it's a bad neighborhood, then hell no, you don't keep walking over there.
That makes sense.
But that's me though. So what I'm trying to say is that some people and people don't understand that you can be racist to your own people just because of the way that we're profiled.
Right.
That was just my point. That's just the point I'm trying to make. I'm not trying to stir up nothing. I'm just
fair.
I'm just saying.
It's a fair point to make if it's something that you've experienced. Like, okay, knock on wood, I've never been jumped before.
Oh man, it's not a good feeling.
Right. I'm sure it's a very... And even me taking jiu-jitsu now, right, that's more of a one-on-one situation. I would feel comfortable once it got to the ground, I'd be all right. But, you know, that's a totally different situation when it's a group of people. You know, there are many different threats to identify, and your best option is to run away. That's the best level of survival, is to get out of the situation as quickly as possible.
Okay. All right. But the point of this whole thing is forgive. Not for them, but for you and for possibly future generations.
Right.
Because hate and anger and revenge are things that they feel good at the moment.
Yeah.
But they're just a circle. You'll always run into this fork in the road, whereas either there's the road to acceptance and the road to revenge. Unfortunately, the road to revenge is very fast, and it's a circular motion. And the road to acceptance is a straight road and it always has a goal. If you take the road to revenge, you'll always just find yourself in that constant circle, and you'll get back to the same place that you started every time.
The phrase you were trying to use earlier was I'm pretty sure it's a wise man plants a garden knowing he'll never sit and smell the roses.
That is actually really good. Let me put that in my notes.
While he puts that in his notes, I've got something that we got some critique back on. Is they'd really like us to do some facts, something to help stick. Like, okay, you take away something from our lesson of the day or whatever, but hey, we've also got this fun fact for you. Maybe it's a life hack. Maybe it's a little tip. Maybe it's just some trivia you didn't know. So this is what we're calling...
I knew it.
I'm changing it now. Just kidding. We're going to do it. We don't have a catchphrase for this moment. Trivia time? No, it's too easy. Trivia turbulence. It's going to be alliteration, just hang on for that.
We are big fans of alliteration.
Alliteration, no breathing.
Please go.
Okay. And here's your fact of the day. If you point your car keys to your head, it increases the remote signal range. This works by using your brain to act as a radio transmitter. We're going to put music in here eventually.
I'm not.
All right. All right.
I think you did a good job.
Thanks. I do. I got one more for you. It's a little interesting. Originally, cigarette filters were made out of cork, the look of which was incorporated into today's pattern.
No, I'm gonna add the music. That sounded.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of it no more. That was really quick. You know what though? I forgive you for that.
Oh my gosh. Hey, I accept your forgiveness, and I just want
to. I don't care, sir.
Hey, I just want to put something out there. We'll do it offline, but I forgive you. Shh.
No.
No.
All right, so that concludes our segment on
That's right.
forgiveness. I hope you learned something. I hope you took something away from it, actually. If you would like to carry on the conversation, or, whether we're 2 episodes away from this or 3 episodes away from this, whichever one, just talk to us. It's okay. Like, we're here to talk. We're here to talk about. If you have a problem.
Yeah.
Right? If you have a problem.
We'll solve
with
it.
anything that was said in a previous episode.
Hit us up.
Right? Please.
Right?
Please. I ask.
Uh-huh.
And I'm saying please.
He's saying it with his heart.
Most definitely.
Yep.
Please let me know, and we will have a conversation.
That's right.
Right? But do not just comment and then leave. You know what? You can do whatever you want. I'll forgive you for it.
Oh.
But you are petty. But you are.
Don't. You're on the path of forgiveness. Don't go back.
Oh, I'm not. I can't forget though. You don't forget. You don't forget anything.
We'll cover forget next time.
All right, y'all. Deuce.
Hey, roll.